It's about car-free and green and IKEA store as good neighbor. And for the person who can elaborate this idea is our keynote speaker, who is the founder, owner, CEO of querkraft Architects from Austria. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Jakob Dunkl on the stage.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm happy to be here. I'm really honored, and thank you for all of you. I'm a little bit worried to talk here because my daughters are also watching and they are very critical. So, I will tell you a little bit about this IKEA building in Vienna, but also about some other topics before, some other projects of my office. And to start, maybe you think I'm Australian, but I'm not. I'm from Austria, so it's two letters, but makes a big difference. Like it's a big country, we are a small country. You have kangaroos, we have none. So here, by the way, it is. And there's a connection between Austria and Thailand. Do you know which one? Does anyone know? It's very small, but very successful. Yeah. It is owned by an Austrian. By the way, he died last year, so his son now, I think, took over. And as you wanted me to speak for 1.5 hours, I take this magic drink now. I'm not sponsored, but I have to try. We have not those little bottles in Austria, only the cans. So, now I want a sponsorship by Red Bull. I'm not the only owner of querkraft. It's 3 guys. We are not querkraft with 2 E's. It's querkraft, and I will explain a little later what it means. We met at the university in Vienna, and we are still friends since a long time. We go skiing together with our families, and that's quite, I think, quite unique that we like each other. We are like having fun, really, nearly every day, and we love our job. And so we founded querkraft in 1998. We own it together, and we are now on the way to check how we can give over the company one day. We are all around 60 years old, and we have about 45 people in our office. I am always wearing this red jacket. That's why it was a lecture one day 15 years ago in Hanover, in Germany, and I bought this jacket an hour before the lecture in a workers' clothing store for 29 euros. And then everyone said, oh, an architect that is not only wearing black. So I bought another 10 jackets, and so I don't need to have to, I don't think in the morning what I should wear, so that's very practical. It's always the same pants, like 10 of those and 10 jackets, but different underwear. So I'm doing, I go back, sorry. What am I doing here? I'm not only an architect, I was also the host of a documentary in television. It's the French-German TV channel Arte, and it was about architecture all over Europe in some cities like Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Bordeaux, Munich, and so I was meeting people like Ben van Berkel here. Yeah, it works. And this is a very good city planner, Jan Gehl, and so I was interviewing them and always wondering what they do, what makes the difference in good architecture. And it will continue, and it will then really have a new title, and it will be Jakob Wonders, because I wonder about a lot of things, and I visit a lot of architectural wonders. And we start with Ukraine, you won't believe, because we did the interview in a video talk, and he sent us picture, Oleg Drozdov, as you can see here, the name of the company, which was designing this building, a horse club. But this building now is bombed down by the missiles, by the Russian missiles, because it was just on the way to go to Kharkiv. It was not a target, but maybe they had fun to do that as well. So I think it's very sad, and I hope this war takes an end soon. Querkraft, what does it mean? It's a German word. Quer means diverse, lateral thinking out of the box. And our idea is to really question a lot of things. In the very beginning, when we get a commission, we always question the commission. Is it a good thing to do that? Should we do it? Should we really do that project? Is it good to do it? Maybe a school building is good, other things maybe not. So we question a lot, and more we check if it's anyway good to build something in our world, because it is consuming a lot of resources and energy, and it's part of this CO2 footprint. So we should do less. Sounds strange, but we should do less, and we try a lot to reduce, to do things reduced. So we are the 45 chefs that cook together and have quite fun. This is our office. It is in Vienna, in one of the famous buildings along the so-called Ringstraße, that were all buildings built 120 years, 130 years, 140 years ago, like the famous opera in Vienna, Burgtheater, a lot of really important buildings, and that was the stock exchange building. So we went to the stock exchange, and we have there space. As you can see, there are partly those windows, the nice windows, but there's also a very rough mezzanine floor, split level, and so we are very open office. There's not even a single wall, glass wall for a meeting room. We have no secrets. When we talk, everyone can listen, and so we have to be nice to our co-workers, because then you would hear it if we are angry. So we don't want to scream. We don't need walls. We are inviting people. Togetherness is the title of this event, and Togetherness is, for example, that we host a series of lectures in our office for other young architects that start their career, and we host it, and then you see that there are sometimes like up to 200 people. And there is also food, not as good as here in Thailand, but we tried our best. We meet other architects. It started in the pandemic, in a serious lockdown phase, when we said, what can we do to keep really our staff passionate, and so we invited in our weekly team call famous architects, like there's I take this one this time. Oops, sorry. Do I meet it? Yeah, Sana, Michael Roykin from Mexico, Werner Sobeck, very interesting guy from Germany, Jürgen Meyer-Haar, Bjarke Ingels Group, 3XN from Denmark, MV RDW from the Netherlands, Snohetta. So, and they talk to our staff only 20 minutes, and it's very condensed and very good talk. And that's Austria, part of it. So it's the home country of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. He's born in the same little village as my father. This is Vienna on the left side, and Graz, the second largest city of Vienna, with unbelievable 200,000 people. So there is a tower. It's called the clock tower. And this clock tower I will show you. This is not a real picture of the clock tower. We did a Photoshop correction, or how to say. We did it a little bit more perfect, because in real it looks like that. We don't know. And there's even windows. So the window in the center, you might still know why they did it, because you have maybe to adjust a little bit sometimes. But this one really, if you would do that as an architect, it's not, you cannot do that. So we ask, what is better? The one we faked, the fake news picture, or the one above? So we think it's more fun to have some little mistakes, failures, like here, for example. No, I don't talk about the leaning elements, I talk about this here. So you could not design that. You could not, as an architect, every professor would say that's wrong, but it is life, and it's human, and it's imperfect. And does anyone of you want to have a perfect partner? It must be horrible. So if ever you complain about something like, you know, the toothpaste story, or how you put things in a dishwasher and it's always wrong with your partner, but don't complain. It must be horrible to have a perfect partner. So everything is imperfect in our world, and that's good. So we ask, in German it's with a K. We did a little game out of those pictures, of this twin pictures. One is the corrected one and one is the original one, and it's this kind of memory game, and you play it and kids have a lot of fun. This is not what we want to see. These are, if you Google winners of architecture competitions, and then you get this, and this is really, we think this is what architects sometimes strive for, what they want to do. They want to do it, I go back, very perfectly, and so this comes out, and I don't think that we want this in our world for the next decades, to see this. So we try hard to do emotional, sustainable projects, to do something that is really you love, because if you love it, then it will stand for a longer time. And this is, all projects are lost competitions. So we do like around 15 pitches per year, and since 25 years, if someone is strong in calculating, it's a lot. But we also realize things, that's all what we, part of what we built. It's even more that we could finally realize, and I will show you some of those. The message is do something that has an identity, a character, something strong, something maybe that makes you, that is emotional. You may like it or not, but it's somehow emotional. But also sometimes think about humbleness, be humble. Like this was the first house we did. We do not more detached houses. We stopped that because we think it's a little bit bad for our planet to do those houses. So we say, this was the first one, and we say, when we look back 25 years later, it's hardly visible. So landscape was taking over, and that's what we want to see. So sometimes you should not be only proud on the architecture, but also be proud when it's not visible. Simplicity is what we like a lot. That was another house of that period, super simple and very efficient. The blue zone is the serving zone, and it's 85 centimeters wide. It's like in an aircraft, more or less, the toilet. And so you have a lot of yellow area to use. That is just the floor with the bedrooms. And you can imagine the same one floor down, which is very spacious living. And also we love to do the prefab, and it was a bit risky to even do that with the glass to bring it in one piece, but it worked. And that was like, 24 years ago. So, and this maybe was the first little preview to our IKEA project. That's the north facade. Surprise is something you should always think about. Can you surprise? Can you surprise your client? Can you surprise the neighborhood? Can you do something unexpected? I mean, with surprise, an added value. Where is the added value? I sometimes ask when we do a competition, or I say, where is the added value? Where is the more than just, okay, we solved the program, and we have to strive for more. In this case, it was a competition for Adidas, the sports company. And we didn't, at that time, know why they have even chosen us. We had just some, like these small houses, and we were chosen to like 29 architects to compete. There was like Zaha Hadid and Sauerbruch Hatten, and I don't remember all the big firms or good offices. And we said, what will Zaha do? It's a dynamic thing, a sports company. What is the task? It is to do, it was called the Adidas Brand Center, and it is a building on their campus in Germany where they host all the key accounts coming from all over the world, Brazil, Tokyo, Bangkok, travel there and have meetings for 2 or 3 days long. And we thought it must be super boring to come from Bangkok to Frankfurt, then to Munich by train, and then maybe by taxi to Herzogenaurach. That's the name of the little village where they are. It's not a capital, it's a small village. It must be so boring. You go there from Bangkok twice a year, maybe spring and autumn season, or maybe every year as a key account, and make all these negotiations with Adidas. Horrible. So we thought, what should they experience? Should they just every time arrive there and see the same building, like, it's the Zaha building, nice? Or, okay, it's a boring building, yes. But here is something that is interesting that was not in the program. It's a huge space, and we said to Adidas, this space, you will take use of it. It's great. There will be people coming and sitting down, writing an email home for maybe happy birthday, my little daughter, or something like that. Where do people sit when they have a break? Do they just sit somewhere in a corner? Do this, because that is a 120-meter long projection wall, and that was the widest cinema format at the time. I don't know if today is a longer one. And they had special cameras to film. So you could, for example, film a runner that runs 120 meters, or a swimmer, and you see the 120 meters a swimmer. And you sit in the airplane coming from Bangkok and you think, what will I see this time? So it was not the architecture in the foreground, it was this screen, our idea. And at the time, in 2004, and it was finished and built in 2007 or so, you see 27 video projectors. Today it would be a LED wall like this one. It was really fun. And so it was a surprise for us to win the competition, because there were 2 finalists in the competition after the jury has judged, and it was querkraft from Austria and Delugan Meisel from Austria, both. And then they invited both practices to present to the board of Adidas, and they had to decide. And my partner, Gerd, in the hotel room, he took his black suit and not a tie, but very elegant. And Peter looked at him and said, Gerd, take it off. Stay authentic. And Gerd said, yeah, but I have just my old T-shirt and these rotten jeans. Yeah, but please stay authentic. So they went to Adidas very authentically. And so after the presentation, they texted home, we don't know, poker face at the board members. And then we texted back from Vienna, anyway, go and drink something, have fun. So they went and were drinking a little bit, and when they came back to their hotel at 2 o'clock in the morning, they have on their phones, where are you? Where are you? Where the hell? You have won the competition. We want to see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So, okay, we won the competition. That was a surprise. And so was it a good idea or not to do this triangle space? I think it was. That picture we got 3 years later, telling us we don't even know, we didn't know what we will do there, as many things that will happen there. This is, for example, the football cup winners party, not of Bayern München, but of FC Nürnberg at that time. So they celebrated here, and it gives us a lot when a client then really responds and say there was a good idea. We love freedom in our projects. Freedom means flexibility. That was our very first little residential block in Vienna. By the way, we did this quite colorful, but there was someone working it was the last day before we finished the building and gave it to the developer. And a worker in the elevator asked me, architect, who was choosing those colors? I said, that was us, the architects, together with the graphic designer. And he said, they are ugly. And I said, yeah, you might think they are ugly, but you are maybe for the next 5 days here in this elevator shaft, and then you go to the next construction site. He said, no, I live opposite. It's horrible. And so just to know that emotional architecture sometimes is not cold, it's hot. You may love it or hate it, and it's good like this. I want to meet that guy today and ask him. Maybe he's used now to the building. So we do a lot of buildings with balconies. That is very common in Austria. With our climate, that works really fine. But also we have some here, for example, the building code was forbidding balconies. Can you imagine? So we just pushed the house a little bit back from the side line, so the balconies were not hanging into the public street, but behind, so we could do it. So it's a house in an area where balconies were forbidden, so we sometimes want to be a little bit asking about law and codes and building codes and if it is right or not. We have our own opinion sometimes. This is a building where we gave the tenants an element outside of their balcony to dry their clothes, their laundry, and they love it. So the little details sometimes are the very interesting things, to care about people, to really think how can they use this balcony, loggia with plants. That's what we are interested in the humans. I show you an Austrian high-rise, which is for you maybe a low-rise. It's 100 meters high, and it is a social project. So that is, in Vienna, there are 60% of all Viennese people live in subsidized housing, so it's middle class, not only the lower class. We heard Singapore has 80%. That's the two world leaders in social housing. What did we do here? There was a previous project that was rejected by the jury, because there's always really a board, a quality board, and developers have to be strong. And they have to do, for example, common community rooms, or like children playroom, or a cinema, or we did even an outdoor chess field, and a little common laundry room with library and so on. And the program from the client was put those rooms to the so-called garden deck area. You have to do that at the garden deck. And we said, but it's not fun to live in 5th floor of a high-rise. Why not giving the people those community spaces in all heights, so that you could, even if you live in the 5th floor, you can bring your kids up to the 23rd floor and play with them there. That's the green area, for example. That's the playroom. And so I zoom in a little bit. You have 3 elevators, and when the door opens, and believe me, a door in a high-rise, it opens many times. You go up, and there's some rush hour, and people come and leave. So you see, oh, there are the kids in the... I bring home my bag, and I come with my kid. And there's another room where maybe they watch a ski race, which is common in Austria. So I come back with popcorn and a Coca-Cola. And so you meet people. That's what Woha yesterday, what he told us. That is, Mr. Wong, what is so important to make a community, even in a 100-meter high-rise, to create that. And so you see in the playroom. And then also you have, every one of us knows that if you see the number of the floor, 17, big letters mostly. But we had also an idea to tell people in every floor a little story. So on this window, which is here between the elevators and this children playroom, there's always a window. And there's an information, like for example, this is the maximum height, flight height of a mosquito. So people maybe will blame us because it's not true maybe. We checked Wikipedia, but maybe mosquitoes climb from one floor to the next. And even we care about when you go to your cellar in the basement, 2 meters below zero, you learn that a duck can dive so deep. And it's very important to save, to reduce, to save energy and resources, and to, even a high-rise has a little part of concrete when we plan it. The structural engineers love to do a lot of concrete in high-rises because they say we need it, and we said we want as little as possible because we do not know what is in 20 years, in 40, in 70 years. Do we need larger or smaller apartments? Here you are free. You don't have to tear down this building just because the apartments become too small. And the next thing is this zone around. It was the first high-rise in Vienna with balcony around. And everyone said, that's stupid. Who needs a balcony in 100-meter height? It's windy, it's stupid. And we said, yeah, but if it's there, you can use it maybe 10 days a year or 20 or 40, but you don't need, you do not must, but it's possible. And anyway, it gives shade. And so the client said, okay, and then the good thing was that it was very cheap to build it, the whole building, because we just built those balconies together with the slabs, and every week one floor together with the balcony, and then the guys who were putting the insulation to the facade, mounting the windows and the last skin, that was super easy to do that. and also to maintain that building in 20 years, in 40 years, when the windows are broken and the facade is, it's so easy. We never had a scaffolding, so the whole thing was cheap. And, you know, and then there's another aspect. I do not want to work in 100 meters height at a facade, because it's fun to be on top of Ole Sharon's tower in Bangkok. But that was me yesterday, or 2 days ago. But it's fun like this, but it's not fun to look the other way. I didn't dare, my daughters did. What is the material of that building, the facade? It's not a facade, it's the railing, the balustrade. People asked us, oh, that must be expensive. It's aluminium. And we said, yeah, I will tell you what it is. But the first thing, more important, we were very unhappy that the client said there is just one of those little, what would you call it? Help me. I don't understand it. These little round extensions to put a table there and to have a little dinner or so. For every apartment, one. And here is a change of the mix of apartments. And we said, yeah, but can we not give those apartments two? Because we want it like this. This would be nice. And he said no. And then we said, okay. We anyway had that idea that unperfectness is something good. Okay, we go for it. And so now we start to love this failure, this problem. So it's good to accept. It's like the liver spot of Cindy Crawford. It's nice. And so there were even larger balconies in the highest floor. And so now we start really to love that aspect, to have different kind of these. And that's the material. That is really out of the mass production. That is a typical Austrian house, not made by us. And those fences you can really buy from the catalog. And we just said, can we order them without this color, just natural silver? And they said yes, and that was then the detail, and nothing else. We just said, make it a little bit denser, where you need protection, where your table is, and make it a little bit wider, the distance where you maybe just want to look out of your bedroom, and a bit higher where you sit and need protection, also wind protection. And this is the view to the landscape also that you have from the elevators. So be emotional, and if you come there and you don't like it, you don't need to rent this apartment. Take another one. 2 million people in Vienna, 100-meter tower, 200 or 500 apartments, I don't know. You find people, and they love it. Land art is something for my Australian colleague, the landscape architect. It was a project for a private art collector. This person called Mr. Liaunik, and I do it now the other way around. This is the day of the opening. Very proud of his art collection and wanted to have his private museum, which is open for the public. This is the day of the opening, and Mr. Liaunik here, his wife, the president of Austria, and the priest, Catholic priest. So very proud, very happy. And this is the site, the plot. We went there, 3 hours car ride from Vienna, and we run around there, my partners and me, and said, what idea we will have here? Oh, we don't know. It must be nice, it must be a museum, it must be great, it must be a landmark was written in the text, in the brief. Everyone wants a landmark. So we said, what can we do? We have no idea. Then there was, a week later in Vienna, was the colloquium, so the meeting of all the competitors, like I think 6 or 7 offices. And the client, he was explaining his wishes, and one of the competitors said, can I take away those trees here? And we said, what the hell? Why does he ask that? And then he explained, because 70 meters down is a river. We had no idea. We didn't know. So we went again by car, 3 hours, and then we saw between the trees, oh, there's a river. Yeah. And then that was the idea of the project. And we said, we will be curious what the colleague will do. I can tell you, he just cut not a single tree, but did a building in the center of this plot and lost the competition. And we won it. And so why do I tell this? Never ask stupid questions in competitions, hearings. Do it in another way maybe, or just cut the trees, but don't ask. Why did we win the competition? This is the museum, 160 meters long, because Mr. Liaunik is a passionate cigar smoker. We didn't know that. It was really a coincidence. So that's the museum. And why is it land art? Because we said it must be really humble, simple, and a landmark by, you won't believe, we just show 5% of the volume, because this is the museum. But the main art hall is just sticking out a little bit, and all the other spaces, yellow is just the second phase of extension, by the way. It was extended 2 times, and it was a little bit of a problem because after phase 1, it got listed as a cultural historic monument heritage. That was the fastest ever in Austria, and so we had to negotiate with the authorities to extend our own museum. But they said you did it in a humble way, and we said thank you. So 5% sticking out. And I show you some pictures. That the red arrow is when you approach. And everyone was thinking when we did just the concrete element, it will be a bridge. And but the people thought, why is there a bridge? But then in the end it was clear what it will be. So people sometimes are shocked and fall from their bikes when they see it. And it is very simple. It's a landmark, and it's very humble and very low energy consumption, because it's under the earth and it doesn't consume any energy at all for heating and cooling. When you enter the building, you enter it like this, and what was our idea was to say he wants for sure show all what he owns, but because you cannot hang every picture on the wall, but you have a lot. So it's like a wine cellar. You show your bottles to your friends, and that is how it looks like every day. This is good, because then it's not so clean. We love it when it's really in use. And so this is now an impression, the next pictures of the main art hall, which cannot be more simple. It's reduced to the maximum. And always keep in mind that this height of the white lightweight structure is the surrounding landscape, the plot. But you never feel like under the earth, because in the end of this cigar, you have the terraces. You don't feel like you are so many meters under zero level, below zero level. That is where we saw the bikers here, this road, and this is we framed the landscape, and this is Mr. Liaunik looking down to the 70-meter lower river, Drau. So, and then one day, Mr. Liaunik came and said, I want here a little building, storage building, 300 square meters for my tractor and some packaging of of the sculptures and pictures when I sent them these boxes. And we said, really, this is your castle, Mr. Liaunik. You live in this castle and you have that view and you want a building there? We had this idea of the cigar. Yeah, I don't mind, you paint it green. And we said, yeah, but when it's wintertime and it's snowing, everything is white and you have a green building. And he understood. And then we said we built something else. We just built a little hill. And this is the formwork for an industrial sewage treatment facility, I don't know what. We just borrowed the formwork, gave it back, and had this wonderful space. And this wonderful space was ready, 300 square meters, one little skylight. And he said, oh, that's too nice for my tractor. I will put sculptures there. And then it was an exhibition space. But he was complaining about the acoustics. We said the tractor doesn't need acoustic. Don't ask me afterwards where the tractor is sleeping today, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe he's sharing the tractor with other people somewhere. So that is underground, underground pictures. You see that there always is daylight. And very, very simple details, collaboration with artists. And the last space of this museum is this one where you enter from here, from the cash desk information, and you have a very simple 700 square meter without any columns and without any ventilation. Nothing is visible. It was a very hard to be so simple. A lot of planning to get the air there, and it's behind the white walls. Yeah, we love simplicity. And there was the shock moment when we wanted to do this shed roof, and it was too expensive. You won't believe it was too expensive. And it was a moment when we were really not knowing what we will do next. And then we came up with the idea to use this material. And we thought it might be too simple for such a museum building. But if you do something maybe a little bit more theatralic, I don't know how to say, not only on the roof, but on all sides, then it is something special. And yeah, that's why it got a listed building now. Because we love this material so much, we used it for just a sculpture in Sweden, and we brought some of those bows to Sweden and made a very simple element. It's 15 meters wide span, and you can walk over the rainbow and see the sea, the Baltic Sea, which is a little bit colder than here, the sea. And we did an opening performance with an artist, and it was really, like always, the fun factor is very important. This is me, here's Peter, that's Gerd, and 15 meters, and the thickness of the material is 1.5 millimeters. So reduce, less is possible if you think a little bit. And it's about fun, and really, we should enjoy life even with less. And you see, even the elderly people, not only the kids, love it. Simplicity. We won a competition where a client, a corporation with the headquarters in Austria, they produce everything you can imagine, like batteries in Germany and food packaging somewhere in Bosnia and something in Vietnam, and they have all over the world. They have factories, and they wanted corporate design, corporate architecture. We said, why? Why do you need it? Yeah, we want it. And we said, it's stupid. Built in every country, the best you can do, the easiest, the most simple, the most cheap, the most ecologic. Build as many windows. Then we just said, we gave them just a list of what they should do. That was our proposal instead of a corporate architecture design. One bullet point on the list was build more glass than daylight, more daylight than the authorities, the building code would ask for, because it's for the humans, for the people. Build, if you need walls, then do ja means yes, nein means no, then build glass walls. Do a lot of ecological things. That is your corporate, not the design. And then said, for example, we said, and in every of your factory buildings all around the world, do forbid this. Go for a real plate, a real glass, a real metal cutlery, and this is quality. And that is something that is then corporate. So an architect can also propose how you serve your food in your factory. And that was done when I came to the US, to Atlanta, following our corporate, a local, not architect, but construction firm was presenting this. I was traveling there with my client from Austria, and I said, why the hell did I go here to this meeting? They show us this shit. I don't want this. This is not following our corporate ideas. And I asked, for example, what is this here? Yeah, that's the entry. It's just one room, and here's the ceiling. And they just did a Potemkin second floor because they said it didn't look good when it was lower. So we said that is not what we meant with corporate. And then during the meeting, I was more and more thinking, what could we do? What could we do out of that? Because the whole thing was planned. We could just change the color. And then I asked the guy from the construction company, can I change these joints? Yeah, could do that. Yeah. And could I change the attic, meaning this, how it's cut? And he said, yeah. I said, it would cost the same. Yeah, it would cost the same. So I had an idea within the meeting, and next morning at 11, I presented this. So we do the prefab elements in 2 colors and cut it a little bit. And so they produced it. And it looks like that. That is a real picture, it's no Photoshop. And it is quite a long building. Do you see the little trucks? It's some 100 meters long, and it looks funny somehow. This is 2-dimensional. It's not 3-dimensional. It's flat. It's a visual trompe-l'œil. It looks like folded, and it won 2 awards. It was just an idea, a sketch, and that was the most efficient project ever in our office. Good hourly rate then. Good payment. Humbleness in a larger scale. We do a museum in Germany, in Ingolstadt. Ingolstadt is where all the Audi cars are produced. And this was an old factory building, a premises that was needed to, I don't know what, steel production, whatever. And they wanted to do a museum. And it was an international competition, and again we won against Zaha Hadid, funnily. The task was to do a museum here, an art museum, but no daylight, because the art should not get daylight. So we said, oh, that's stupid. And all the other offices in the competition did something like tearing down a lot and doing a lot of strange things. And we said, what could we do with this wonderful space? Because the best is the space. It is great. We shouldn't even touch it, just maybe clean a little. And then we said, what if we keep this building as it is and do the museum underneath? how would that look like here? There we were studying the old plans, and that was a very lucky thing because it looks great. I'll show you later. So what is the space? The space is just coffee, entrance, information, children, pedagogic, I don't know in English. And so you go there on weekends with your family, and so take a coffee, and then you have this here, and you look down and say, aha, there is a museum, maybe next Sunday we visit the museum. So it's a little like to seduce people to go to the museum. And so these are the foundations. They looked like this. And if you are in a museum, then you can look up to the old space. And that are the foundations. Such a beautiful work. So we just presented it to the people. That was our idea. It's very humble, I think. And so you take your coffee and say, next Sunday it will be the real museum visit. Reduction. Reduction is, I talk about less, reduction, reduce. That's what we are interested in. We were wondering if we should take part for the Expo World Exhibition in Dubai. Should we do that? How stupid is it to build something for 6 months, waste a lot of energy, resources, and then tear it down? We said, no, we don't do it. And then after a while we said, if we can show to the world a smart approach, maybe it is a good idea to do it. And then we took part and we won it. And the idea was to check what did they do before they had all these air conditions. What did they do? That were the wind towers in the region. And those wind towers used the cold air from the night, because the expo was in the winter season. That was the same temperatures as in Austria in summer, and it's okay. It's not like here. When it's too hot, it's okay. You can take the cold air from the night and bring it through the building if you do it in a very smart way. So instead of these historic wind towers, we did cones, very simple cones, and those cones were bringing the cool air through the exhibition. And so we put those cones together and cut them a little bit in different heights, and that was the only thing we did, very simple. And we were super happy. We thought this is the nicest pavilion, and it's unique. We thought that is unique. And then Spain presented their proposal. But it was really coincidence. We had no Spanish co-worker at that time, and I think they had no Austrian. It was a coincidence. But it's totally different, by the way. This was meant to be in a 3D plot out of clay, and that was a very transparent fabric. So it's totally different. But look at the visualization even. It's the same. I still think this is a crazy coincidence. So our idea was to plot this in the desert, and after 6 months, then you just tear it down and it will be sand again after a while. So we give back to the nature what we took. But it was impossible. The law, the building code, didn't allow that we plot clay in Dubai. It was impossible. So we had a lot of ideas because our client said, yeah, you won the competition, now you have to do it. And so we decided, then we did a very serious value engineering. Value engineering is if you have those Excel lists, sorry, wrong direction, where you say costs, ecologic factors, whatever, time to construct it, does it meet the building code, whatever, you have a lot of columns. And I say always, I love it if there is one column saying emotion, aesthetic, beauty, human approach, then it's good. If it's only functional costs and so, then be careful. So we had this reinforced concrete, very thin like this, was then the result. Prefab elements, and those prefab elements should be deconstructed after 6 months and assembled somewhere. That is then also very sustainable. If you don't tear down things, if you keep them, that's the best. So that was our, was our pavilion, and so we built this pavilion. Then there came the pandemic, the lockdowns, but somehow it went on, and it was less concrete than the foundation of our neighbor, the Chinese pavilion. Less concrete. It had to be paint white, not even kept gray, paint white for the reflection. That was very important to our engineers. And inside, why is it, by the way, called Austria Makes Sense? That was in a double meaning, double sense of the word. It was about, it is smart, and it is the senses inside. It was not this overkill of digital presentations. It was a very, very sensitive, sensual presentation inside. So a very simple pavilion, and the layer inside those concrete elements, the last layer is a clay layer, which was needed to really breathe, keep quicker the humidity, to suck the humidity and to keep the cool air and so. And this was Austrian wood brought to the Emirates, and it smelled very nicely. And so those guys had fun. And you will ask maybe where the pavilion is today, because we were then, as the architects, not our client, the Austrian Chamber of Commerce, they did not, but we did search for reuse. And we found a university in Oman, which was super interested in these elements, and we said, okay, you just have to pay the transport, disassembling and assembling, nothing else, and the foundations. And they were, wow, happy, and they got it for free. Wow, thanks to the Republic of Austria. But bad end. It's different than to Terminator. This story really ended bad, because it was close to contract signing. Dubai asked, we keep the pavilion. And we said, oh, that's great. They keep it. It's even more sustainable than to transport. And then negotiations for weeks. And then they sent to Austria such a contract. And the Republic of Austria should have guaranteed for 3 years everything, like if some electric plug is broken, if someone was hurting the head at one of those arches, Austria would be responsible. So the Austrians said, sorry, dear Emirates, you have enough money, you are not Africa, that is not okay. And then the whole thing was cancelled, and it was like 2 weeks until the finishing of the exhibition, and it was too late to restart the negotiations with Oman. So the whole thing was torn down. It's broken, it's away, it's gone. That is a sad end. So, wow, I have on my little schedule the last 30 minutes for the IKEA building. If you need some energy drink, if you are yawning, I would stop now. It's okay. Car-free, my team, or our team, is like 60, 70, 80% female co-workers on that project. I'm very happy about this aspect. It's the togetherness also. Car-free. What does it mean? This is my first car. It's just the model of my first car. It was a BMW, 1970s, with a very dramatic 90 horsepowers, and I was so proud and happy. And I think something went wrong. Definitely wrong. I turned from an auto enthusiastic to a really enemy of cars, to be honest. This is Vienna, the opera, and believe me, not everyone in all these cars is someone who needs the car because it's a doctor or it's going to a patient, or we don't need it. We don't need it. We have subways, we have trams, we have everything. That was Vienna 100 years ago. Did you ever think about that you could cross our streets everywhere? I'm sure you will find a lot of pictures of Bangkok where you could cross streets everywhere you wanted. Now you are forced to cross a street somewhere at a red light, and you have to wait like an idiot. Like, I mean, what did we do with our cities? How wrong is that? How stupid. We have to reinvent our city life. And okay, this is a smart guy. It's a professor in Vienna, Hermann Knoflacher, professor for traffic science. And he was writing, many years before COVID, a book, Virus Car, Virus Auto, saying that this is a real problem, that we have a problem. And he's showing to his students that how much space a car needs. This is Vienna, a lot of trees, as you can see. And it costs 10 euro to park your car in a street. I mean, it's sick. If you live here upstairs, you pay, this is the first district, it's the center of Vienna, it's very expensive. You pay here like 1,500 euros per month for living. I think if you would ask, do you want to pay 1,510 euros and you get a tree? I think people would say, yeah, that's not such a stupid idea. And we don't need the cars. We can do car sharing and use public transport. But we do this. We extend it forever. We think that is the solution now. It is sick. If we don't have to change only the way we run the cars from carbon, fossil energy to electric energy, we have to change the mobility. And now we really fix them to our streets. With public money, we built this. This is wrong. If you want to charge your car, please do it in a garage, not in the public space, never. Yeah, I've seen this. I think this is public transport, but we have a lot of cities where this is also roads. And Seoul, I was in Seoul last week. It looked like that. In 2004, they were tearing it down, and they were doing this. It's now a wonderful place to be, to stay, to walk, to enjoy. And it cooled down. Compare those two pictures, before and after, and it cooled down the neighborhood like 2 degrees or so, and it took away car traffic, and the public traffic, people in public transport increased. So we can do it, we should do it, we must do it quickly. And I always ask, this is one of those, right hand is a residential, not planned by us, by the way. Left hand is an office building. Do you think it's fun to look out of the window? What do you think are the rents in those two buildings, and could be the rent if it's like that? I go back and forth. I think we should change our world quickly. So we need parks at every corner. This is Vienna from above. But it's not a park. It's a building built by an artist, not by an architect. So all the architects in Vienna are jealous because people love it. People come with buses to see it. It's a sightseeing attraction. It's the 100 Wasser house. And it was built in 82. And so it looks today. So give our world a chance, do it. Woha will have an exhibition where they compare Woha and 100 Wasser. That is what IKEA is worldwide. 458 of those we find everywhere in the world. And it could be like that. If we have another mobility. And so in Vienna, 2 million people live in Vienna. They wanted to have an IKEA store there, and the city of Vienna said, yes, you can do that, but without any car parking and with a public roof terrace. And that will be a contract. The roof terrace must be accessible for the public, not only for your clients. And IKEA said, okay, we have just, so the local IKEA organization said, okay, we just have to ask a little bit in Sweden to our headquarters. And they said, no. No. We have 458, same concept. Since ever, we go that way for the next time. So IKEA Austria asked for 3 years in the headquarters, and we're fighting, showing always new calculations, and then the Swedes said, okay, try it. If it fails, doesn't hurt our big corporation so much. So IKEA Austria tried, and they invited 9 offices and said this. It's interesting. A client could also have said, we want to have the best-selling house. We want to have most space for our products. They said this, and I think this is really extraordinary. This was, the site is here, so this blue house had to be torn down. Big discussion also, is that smart to do that or not? But this blue house did not work as any retail because it had very small spaces. This is not designed by us. It was here before. It is like a little caricature of the CCTV in Beijing, I think. So what could be a good neighbor if we take away this building? What is a good neighbor? Are those good neighbors? That's the same program, retail. It's in Germany. It's a famous architect at the time, Egon Eiermann. Some architects have for the board, they have the rack underneath from this famous architect at the time. This is Pritzker Prize winner David Chipperfield in Vienna. I like the building. It's simple. There's kind of a beauty, but you cannot say that those 4 buildings are good neighbors. They are not lively. You can just discuss if you think the proportions are good or the aesthetics, but they don't contribute at all to the neighborhood. They are dead and they are closed at 8 p.m. and on Sundays in Austria. You can't go shopping on Sundays in Austria. So it's dead. It's not good for the city. So we did this. Our IKEA building is, you can love it or hate it. You can say it's not nice, but it is lively, I think. It's open. It is, you can see people there, those 2 here, maybe kissing in the evening sun. There are balconies here and there, and retail with a balcony. This is new. And it's a very lively building. And that was what we thought would be smart, to be a good neighbor. And we were lucky because the program was not only IKEA. It was also to have that building where you have the whole day is retail and people are shopping, but the last 2 floors is a hostel with 345 beds. So it's also light in the night time, and you see people. So that is also important. All the other 4 buildings I've shown before, there's nothing. So we need hybrid buildings, not monofunctional buildings. We need people to live on top of retail shopping centers. We have to really mix everything. That is very important. So, and then a good neighbor is not only to be lively, what else? So we said, if we tear down that building with a caterpillar, what would neighbors vote for? If you ask neighbors, what do they want? Guess. Trees. So we said we could plant 60 trees or 160 trees if we use all the facades and the rooftop. So it's more trees than could be just on the ground. So this building has an influence to the neighborhood. And so the building, that was a visualization when we, a short time before we started the construction site. And that building has an influence. I think this is a good neighbor. And why is it? Is it just this cooling down just because of the trees? No, it is also because if you compare it with the old house before, the blue house, that had a plaster facade and a brick roof. So if you, and also in Vienna we have summers with like 35 degrees during the daytime. 35 degrees on a brick roof and a plaster facade heats up. And in the night it can give the heat to the city. But this building has not any option to heat up. It's just, I go back even to, there's a lot of shadow everywhere. Balconies, shadow, trees. So the whole thing together makes it cooling down. Imagine the whole city would be like that, like the Hundertwasserhaus. Imagine how the trees can be in some years. We would have other cities one day. So that was the last picture in the presentation, 3rd stage of a competition, 3 stages. It was really like exhausting. Many months competition and workshops with our client in between. And in one workshop, a hotel expert explained, this hostel you have planned will not attract many operators. And we said, yeah, you just need one operator. It should attract many customers. It was the winning argument. And IKEA asked us if that is the building we should build, how will it look in autumn? We said like this. How will it look in wintertime? Like that. I even love it more in wintertime. And then, and many times you have projects that become worse after winning competition scheme. You know those projects. They were quite nice with the renderings and then they become bad. Compare this picture to the next. There are 16 trees in the facade, 16. And there is a big logo, that's the south facade, and a staircase. And that is what we built. It's the double amount of trees. There is no logo and no staircase. Can anyone find the logo? Here's the logo. How humble a client can be, I was really surprised. Because that was their idea. They said, we don't need a big logo. The whole building is the logo. So that was the last presentation in the 3rd stage, rendering. I showed you just before this south facade, right, here. This is the west facade. Again, a big logo, what we thought would be needed. And tack means thank you in Swedish. And the last question of a jury member from Sweden was, Jakob, what would you fight for? And I said, for the trees. And I thought this was a little bit brave, because maybe they think, what a dreamer is this guy. He should fight for our budget and time schedule and space, usable space. He fights for the trees. But she was smiling and gave us the commission. So look at the logo, and that's what we have built. Even that logo on the west facade became smaller and just gray and not powerful blue and yellow. This is the 2 floors of the hostel. The building is so flexible that in the competition it was 1-floor hostel. And just 6 weeks after winning, they asked us, could you do 2 floors? And we said, oh, what? We couldn't even, could hardly bring daylight to those bedrooms here in in 1 floor. How can we do a 2nd floor? But it worked. Do you see the U-Bahn subway? There is not a lot between those 2 elements, the subway and the building. So when taking, and this is the 0 level here, here. So if you take the old building, if you take it away, then the subway tube wants to come up because it's groundwater. It's like if you put a ball underwater, it wants to come up. So they had to keep the load always on the side, which was not so easy, as you can see here. So they had to do different sections to do here the concrete floor in minus 16 meters, then put this soil back here. It was really, and our building, the new building, which is much bigger than the old blue house, is so lightweight that the structural engineer said, I need more weight. It's too light. The U-Bahn will come up. So we had to change some elements to concrete. You won't believe. This is the flexible floor plan, which is the gray zone is like 50 by 60 meters. And I had a bet with the project steering guy who said, you cannot do 50 by 60 meters without any vertical shaft, core, pipes, whatever, sewage. And we said, we will try our best, and I won. Because everything is outside, like in Centre Pompidou in Paris. Everything is just outside. It's just a flexible space, and in 20, 30, 50 years it could be something else. You could even make the void, the internal void, a little bit bigger and do something else. And there are like the elevators for the customers. There are the conveyor belt automatic elevators for the goods. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 staircases. They are always double. So we have 8 escape ways. Imagine you have them in the building, inside, then you have always a sluice with 2 doors and pressure, air, I don't know, ventilation. It costs a fortune, and it consumes a lot of space. And because we were so smart to be so efficient and to not waste square meters for the staircase sluices and so, and because we squeezed in another floor here, which we were the only competitors in the competition that could make another floor by doing the thinnest slabs you can imagine. Because of those ideas, we could do that building that is on all 4 sides, like 4.5 meters back from the outer line. Nobody else would always waste so much time. We could do it, we could afford. And that was giving the space to the neighbors, the free space, the outer space. That was is the hostel on 2 floors, 345 beds. And even this on top does not need all those pipes going through the building. They go all under the ceiling to the sides. That is the public accessible area is 2,000 square meters. And so this is, in fact, nothing else like an IKEA shelf. It's just that it doesn't wobble, not shake. It has always, if you buy at IKEA, you have always to do this here. So that's the same. We built more or less their product. And it's, we said to the client, and until the very end, you can influence your budget by the facade, put more or less transparent, whatever you want. It doesn't look very different. Take as much glass as you want. So this is the south facade. There's the logo. And there's like alone, I think, 40 trees on one side of the building, each side. And the biggest logo is on the roof, Google Earth. One day, real time will be like you greet your friends in Australia. And the question again, is it a good neighbor? We think to step back 4.5 meters, just give space, air, sun, trees, was maybe an idea to be a good neighbor. And this was, imagine now, here's a tram station, and this could be the building. So we gave this here to the public with a height where you're a little bit protected and still have a good feeling. And this is in 4th floor, on 4th floor. So, in fact, it's very simple. IKEA shelf, just to fix the pots that the wind will not blow them away. The IKEA restaurant, and this is Lumi, my daughter. There was also the ball pool. Every IKEA in the world has a ball pool for the kids. We have it for the adults as well. But they closed it at the pandemic because of sanitary reasons, unfortunately. That is the hostel. We are here 2 levels under the rooftop, and it's still a wonderful feeling. It is a hostel driven by a French Accor group, and they had like their USP is like to have graffiti, and we just collaborated in the design with their ideas and our ideas. And before I showed you this picture, so then from here you just walk, because below it was where the escalators. You walk to the roof. In the shopping area there are all these escalators going up. So the last mountain climbing is by feet and not electric driven. Why not? If you are in a wheelchair, you take the elevator anyway. So that is the public roof terrace, very simple PV panels, as you can see. And those pots, by the way, was really kind of a task to do that, because they have a lot of features like sewage and bringing the fresh water, irrigation, and I don't know what else, electric for some lamps inside, and sensors if is the soil too wet or too humid, and so on. There is a lot. So we had also that phase, as any project has, where the client comes and say, oh, we run a little bit out of budget. Do you have ideas to save money? And then the client said, but bring every idea. the architect for, like in 1 week we have a meeting. There is no taboo. You can really have crazy ideas how to save money, but we want all the trees. That was really a client that you need for good architecture. It's very simple, as you can see, a very simple approach. And why, if you would ask why there is no grass on the rooftop, we were asked many times. You know, it would be, it is not durable. There are so many people. There are yoga classes. There's a lot here. So you need just, it's a square with trees, nothing else, but in 33 meters height. And they have chosen those trees that have also leaves up down to the, so that is really a green feeling. So I have 4.5 minutes left, but there's still some slides. Food. And also, just a little detail, here are the courtyards for the hotel rooms, and that is a little bit like a protection that you are not, we would not like to have glass railings there. It was just a protection, so it's really quite a hidden courtyard. And that's what we found out in the very end. In the internet, in the web, we saw social media, LinkedIn, a fan club for the building. What is that? A president of the fan club, Bernhard Fischer. I called that guy. I said, Mr. Fischer, is that a joke by IKEA? He said, no, they don't even know about it. I founded I'm a neighbor. I founded this fan club because I love the building so much. I mean, they had in mind, the task was, we want to be a good neighbor, and this is the proof. I'm really, that was a surprise. We could not, I've never heard about a fan club for a building, for IKEA building. And I'm writing a book right now, it's finished, it will be published soon. It's weniger means less. And I'm talking in that book only about less. Less energy consumption, less material resources, less weight, less in architecture, but in anything else. And but this here says less of everything, but more fun. Because I think you can combine. Imagine the rainbow in Sweden. It's less material, but it's more fun. The museum, less visible, but yeah. I think we could strive to do really whatever we do. First question is, do we need it really? And if we need it, do it in a reduced way, not always more. And so this is me. That's the red jacket, as you can see. And I wonder, should I still build something with my office? Or should we leave it to the landscape architects, the whole world? I think we can sometimes do something, but we should do it very reduced, in a very reduced way, and even have some just out-of-the-box ideas. When I talked about streets in cities that don't need cars, what else can we have? Scooters, electric bikes, walking, even walking, not too bad. And also in Austria, we are the kingdom of ski lifts. Why not taking some ski lifts into our cities? It's fun. And the amount of resources and energy and material compared to other, in mind the picture of your high-lying concrete thing, I mean, it's quite of a difference. So we should just stay really creative in finding solutions. Thank you to my team. Without them, would not be possible what we do. And thanks for your patience attention.
Thank you, Mr. Jakob Dunkl of querkraft Architects from Austria, not Australia. Okay. So as for the next portion, we are honored to have the Executive Director of the P49 Design and Associates Company Limited here with us to moderate the session, the Q&A sessions. So for the online audience, please feel free to drop your question on the chat box. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome คุณสายวิภาพัฒนาพงษ์พิบูลย์ขอเสียงปรบมือด้วยค่ะ
ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะก็สนุกมาก Thank you very much Jakob for your passionate speech. For this moment, please gear up with your questions. And in the meantime, I would like to thank Jakob for sharing your passion and teaching us a little bit about emotional sustainability. When we create a building that people love, people use for a long time, that's the ultimate sustainability. And teaching us about humbleness in design with your ML Land Art Museum. And also, being humble doesn't have to mean that it's not powerful. So you've created something that's quite emotionally powerful in a humble way. And you've also, with your IKEA and also with your other buildings, like your social housing, you bring community together. And also to teach us about surprise in architecture and not just to answer the brief or the program that was given and to think about more. What else can we give to the users? And ultimately about reducing, even though it might mean to build or not to build, or how can we build less or build with less. And thinking about the longevity of the building as well, I think you really showed us not thinking about just how it would look at the end, but how it would look seasonally or through the years, or how flexible it could be used in the future. And how important it is for architects to really fight for what we believe in to be a positive environment for us and for the earth. And just to correct your perception, in Bangkok we still cross the roads wherever we want. So now I would like to ask if any of the audience have any questions. If not, I would like to ask just a little bit if you can elaborate for the Dubai Expo building. There was the entry of the census, and I was wondering if you can expand a little bit more. We saw the smell of the Austrian wood, but what else is there?
The idea was really to just do as little as possible to show, because people walk around like 8 hours between all those pavilions and they get an overkill of information, digital, LED walls, sound, flashlight, and we wanted just them to come to our pavilion and slow down, smell, touch. There was a table where you could touch sand, and it was a little bit connected with your heartbeat, so that the sand made some structures. There were some ideas about some different senses, but the main idea was really to do as little as possible to really surprise people. And there was then also there were some people that were thinking, and where's the exhibition? Where the hell is the exhibition?
The whole experience was at the exhibition.
To calm down.
Okay. And just to go back to the IKEA building, can you explain a little bit about the circulation, how we can go from the street up to even at midnight or something to go and use the public space?
During the opening hours of the store, you can go inside the escalators, then the last two stairs. That is during daytime. You also can access from the east side, where I said there are 4 elevators outside. They are directly accessible, so you go up on Sunday when the whole retail area is closed, locked, And then there is also one of those 8 escape stairs. One is highlighted in a special way of design that you feel that there's something different than just the escape stairs. And this is also an access way. I always said we should even motivate people to walk as long as you are able. I think in our, if you look around, we would say 90% of the people could easily walk. And we always take elevators and escalators. We should walk more. We go to the gym. How crazy is that? Instead of walking. And so that is also very important, was very important to us. And we wanted to motivate the people to take the stairs by doing some fun things, like you put your smartphone in the ground floor somewhere, and then you put it you tag it on the rooftop, and maybe then it says how many minutes or seconds, how fast you were, and then maybe the winner of the day gets a cup of coffee, and the winner of the week gets a
or you try harder the next time.
Yeah, and then maybe the winner of the month gets a sofa from IKEA. But they didn't do it.
มีใครมีคำถามอะไรไหมคะ เดี๋ยวขอไมโครโฟนทางนี้ด้วยนะคะ
Okay. Thank you, Jakob, for your presentation. Thank you for walk us through wonderful projects. So I'll go back to the very first slide that you mentioned about your name, of the firm of your name, think outside the box. I would like to know how you motivate your team member to think outside the box. That's one question.
Yeah, that is a good question, because I wonder how I myself motivate myself to think out of the box. There is the first thing is that we say always what is the goal, and is there another way than the normal? And sometimes there is no other way. Yeah, it happens. But it's really a question in the office, can we do it differently? Like there was in 1984, I think it was, Steve Jobs and the advertising agency for Apple saying, think different. That is something, really, it is always to question everything, always. That is, if you would do a chair, you question maybe why 4 legs. Frank Lloyd Wright questioned it as well. Do you know that story? For the Johnson Wax building, he did chairs with just 3 legs and wheels, office chairs, and everyone was always falling. So thinking out of the box and question everything is not always successful. Even for the giants in architecture. Sometimes you have to do a chair with 4 legs. Or 5.
I guess to elaborate on your questions, you and your partner, so there's 3 of you that founded the querkraft, and I wonder how you push each other, or how do you take different tasks, or how do you work together to think outside the box?
Good question, because in many offices you have a CFO, a CEO, a CTO, or in those partnerships you have one that is a little bit stronger in design, and the other one is a little bit stronger in negotiating with clients and so. And for us it's really fun. We are all the same. We love being creative, designing, and we hate negotiating contracts, and we are lazy, all 3 of us. Yeah. So we sometimes are just joking a lot, and then we say, oh shit, we have to have an idea until we wanted in this meeting to have the good idea, and then in the last 5 minutes, then whoops, there is the idea. Always together with our team, It was just in the very first days we were just sitting alone. We are always working with our team, and out of those 45, it is not at all very hierarchic. It is there are people, they do a project leading position, and then they say, "Oh, I did it now for 3 years. I'm a little bit tired. Can I do in the next project maybe work together with another guy?" And it's very open. That is quite good. And the three of us, that was the initial question, we are, the good thing is that we always not think it's important to have the best idea ours, that I have to have the best idea. And Peter and Gerd also don't think like that. We have to have the best idea. And it's like in a good team of football players, it's not important who shoots the goal. It's just important that it happens. And that is something we are very happy that we are not jealous if the other one has the better idea. So, okay, good, yeah. And even it goes so far that we really motivate our interns to say, if you as an intern have a good idea, please tell us. And if the intern has the best idea of the meeting, I think something went very well. That's then the moment where I think, wow, that is where I want to be, that the co-workers are better than us. It's my target.
I think you work, as we can all hear, I think you're very passionate about your view in architecture. How do you feel about AI in our industry?
That's a very good question, because I think I have no answer. I was thinking about it before, and I thought, yeah, I know it. AI is too perfect. They will be, all these things will be perfect. No, you just have to program them, and the programming will be better and better to do some little twists and failures. If you want, you program it. And then I thought, okay, the artificial intelligence will never have humor, fun. In 10 years or in 10 months, they do it with humor and a twinkle in the eye, everything. I'm really worried about, I thought before, the humans, we are more creative. But I get more and more insecure about it, because these systems learn so quickly that they don't only look back and reproduce something one day, they will also have some ideas in questioning things, like how many legs has a chair. They will also have crazy ideas. So I'm wondering where it leads to. I have no idea, and I'm just scared about crazy things like since long time, any of us experiences that moment that your stupid computer asks you to prove that you are human. I am not a robot. I mean, how can the machine ask me? I have to guarantee that I'm not a robot. And then I have to pick in those squared pictures with the 9 pixels. I have to search for red lights or motorcycles.
Yeah.
I mean, these stupid machines tell me what I have to do. Horrible. But maybe we just don't work and lay around at the beaches of Thailand and let the computers work. I don't know. Boring. A little bit boring. I love working.
Just now you were talking about AI designing something perfect, and that goes back to the beginning of your slides, talking about perfect or imperfect. And at the moment that you were talking about it, I was wondering to myself, and I'm not sure if there's an answer, but how do we design something that is not perfect? Or like, how do we
That is the best question, because I had that before. A student once asked me, how can I do a mistake? I said, that comes from itself. Really. It happens. Just stay relaxed. There will be always some mistakes, some failures, some oops, and then just say, okay, I take this oops and make it to an advantage. Yeah. Okay. Like in another field, not architecture. It's quite of a philosophy. I was, if there are negative things like something unforeseen, something bad, like your aircraft is late, or your train is delayed, your whatever, you are in a taxi and it takes much longer than expected, then it's bad, right? You hate it. But then I now had the idea, I downloaded a book on my iPhone, and then I read the next chapter in the book. And it's forbidden to read it at any other occasion than if you are in a delayed situation, waiting time at the doctor's waiting room. So you, happily this aircraft is delayed, I can read the next chapter. So make just something good of any problem. It doesn't work always, by the way.
I think there's a gentleman from your country who wants to ask a
question.
No.
That's the big difference, the kangaroo country.
Yeah, that's right. We have lots of people trying to get to Austria in Australia. We trap them there. We don't let them out. Mistakes are also, there's a great Negroni variant in Milan where they chose Prosecco instead of gin. And now it's one of the most famous Negronis to get in that part of the world. It's called the Spagliato, which is Italian for mistake. So it's gone on to be one of the most asked for drinks over there. So some mistakes can have glorious futures. Yeah. But I'm curious about, clearly your, all great architecture is a conversation with the city, a collaboration of sorts. Your presentation was great. Persuasive skills are important in terms of tactics, talking to governance. And I imagine some European cities particularly are quite conservative. Your buildings are quite in high contrast to their surrounds. So my question is, what tactics do you deploy to get great architecture through cities where the changes are so obvious? And the second part is, and because of the way you present, have you ever been banned from these negotiations?
I start with the negotiations. I don't know. You mean when the presentations are good?
Yeah, you've got.
I should also negotiate the contracts. You mean? Or?
Well, with the council, often will have rules for how a building can hit a city, the scale, size, proportion.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
So this aspect. Just wonder. I showed one building where there were balconies, and also the one where I talked about the colors. The green and yellow. That was also in a zone where balconies were forbidden. And then we said, that cannot be true. Why are they forbidden? And then we were reading the building code more often and more detailed. And then so we saw, okay, it's allowed to do architectonical elements of structuralizing the facade up to 60 centimeters. Ornaments up to 60 centimeters. So we went to the authorities and said we want to have 60 centimeter horizontal things in each floor. Yeah, it's nothing, we cannot forbid this. And they said, can we mount a railing to those elements? It's not a balcony, it's just decoration with a railing and it's to clean the windows. Because 60 centimeters is not a balcony. And they said, yeah, we cannot forbid it. And then we said, it's like in Paris, you have always those 60 centimeters balconies at the boulevards. So it's also something it's useful. So being creative in searching for arguments.
I have a question back to your philosophy of doing less, designing less, right? Trying to do as less as possible. Does it come back to your design method or the way you process your design to be less as well, or even that comes back to making your design process even much deeper in your thinking and getting the process really in depth of what you really want and then try to filter down to the last basic element that you really want to tackle in that particular project?
Yeah, it is really, the design process sometimes is driven by this thinking of doing less, like Mies van der Rohe said, less is more, and also Saint-Exupéry, the Little Prince author, said it's the nicest is if you cannot, not the moment when you cannot not add anymore, but if you cannot let away or keep reduce more, that's the best moment. So, and in the design process I didn't really understand if you also mean if the design process itself
Yeah.
should be
and I think
reduced.
In a way it kind of contradicts with thinking outside the box, because thinking outside the box is kind of doing more.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. To go to the minimum sometimes needs really the most effort. That's true. To think less leads not to the most reduced solutions. That's really a contradiction, absolute. I wonder sometimes, yeah, it is always, how can we do less takes really more and more time to think.
And my side question, that building in the States that you just did a simple facade with colors and plain, what did you do with the box in the front that you said, it had that fake double-story, yeah.
We also reduced it. We reduced
Took it away?
Reduced to the maximum. Small and reduced. Absolutely.
Thank you, Jakob. It was a great presentation. I love it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
ค่ะ มีคำถามเพิ่มไหมคะ งั้นเวลาเราจะหมดแล้ว as we're coming up with our time, I'll ask you a final question. I think maybe for the students in here or who are listening online. So if you could go back in time and give yourself or students advice, whether in architecture, in life, what would you say?
Yeah, it's. I think it will be the same answer. Like if you ask any artist, whatever, tennis player, architect or doctor, they follow their heart. I think they did not just think, how can I be more successful in life if I play tennis or if I go to football? So it's following your heart always. And so I would say do that always, follow your heart. And if the decision is very difficult to take, if you really don't know, then the wrong decision cannot be wrong, because then it's similar. If it would be easy to say, should I be truck driver or architect? Okay, architect. Landscape architect or architect? I don't know. So do one of those, because then you can be a landscape architect, maybe that builds more of the pavilions and more of the walls and structures, and because you felt you are more an architect, and if you have chosen architecture and you are passionate so much to the landscape, then you will be an architect like Mr. Wong from Wuha, who does green buildings. So can then combine again. Follow the heart.
Thank you very much for your passionate talk today. Thank you.
Thank you.
May we have a round of applause for Jakob Dunkl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.